So right off the bat, as you guys know, I study a lot of the laws that are coming out specifically for disability benefits. And one of the things that gets, brought up a lot are these options here that we're going to go through. And they can be bad, really bad for the disabled. Some of them make their spot in bills that go before the House or the Senate, etc., when they're being promoted forward. Some of them never make it into bills. But here are some things that I want to present to you going forward into a more pro-government, anti-Social Security benefit system that we could potentially see being put in place. I am not in any way making a pro-Democrat, anti-Democrat, or pro-Republican, anti-Democrat statement. I am an independent. I vote for the people who I think are going to do a good job. Because remember, at the end of the day, the politician that ultimately gets put in doesn't always go with what they say they're going to do while trying to be elected. So, you have to take it all in consideration. These are 5 things that I want you to think about because it's important about what they could potentially require of the disabled or put upon the disabled in the future. Number 1, drug tests that are random for the disabled. Now, remember, that's not just drug tests in the sense of illegal drug tests, right? We're talking about also legal drug tests. A lot of people get medication; they'll be prescribed to take it in a certain way, and they won't take it exactly as prescribed because they know how their body does with it. When that happens, right? This is a situation where, let's call it like it is, somebody could be drug tested, them not find that legal drug that's been prescribed to them in their system, and then as a result go through a further deeper CDR or maybe even CDIU unit to investigate them. Now, with that said, potential fraud, misuse of, claims that you've made that you take your medication as prescribed. Now, that's the legal side, legal medication. Then there's the illegal medication. They may use that as a mass tool to kick you off of benefits. I see that basically Slathering said unconstitutional. I don't know. I could find ways where they could legally do that because remember, when you sign up for disability benefits, albeit you pay into the system, they de facto get to set up the standards and rules related to it. I mean, sure, some may violate the Constitution. It might be a privacy violation or something like that. Sure, you could claim that. But at the end of the day, I mean, remember that, if you're signing up for their program, which you were forced to pay into in a form of FICA taxes, at the end of the day, they're pretty much allowed to create rules for it. And some rules, even though they are quasi-unconstitutional, end up getting through because the courts decide, well, it's so necessary that we allow the privacy of a person to be eroded a little bit. And that happens all the time with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court does that. So, number 2, required medical check-ins with CE doctors every 6 months. So there's a 1-year rule, a 3-year rule, a 7-year rule, stuff like that, right? And then they got rid of the Trump 2-year rule, which, was pretty much the only thing President Biden really, really did for the disabled, which is ironic because he had so many big ideas. I'm sure other people wrote them for him, but that's how presidents are. Everybody writes their ideas for them. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of high hope, a lot of big expectations, and then he was just a not very active president. Unless China's involved. Then he seems to be very pro-China, especially with taxes, immigration, orientation. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, so what's the problem with 6-month check-ins, right? What's the problem with that whole situation? So people have good days, people have bad days, people are kind of all over the place when it comes to that stuff. And as a result of that, if they do CE check-ins every 6 months, they increase the likelihood of an individual with a disability having a good medical visit where their impairments aren't showing them to be as severe, that which they claim to be, that which limit their ability to work. As a result of that, if you have a CE check-in every 6 months, the likelihood that somebody would get kicked off of disability benefits significantly increases. So just be aware of that. Number 3, a random house search within a general time frame once a year. All right, you notice how I said within a general time frame? When it comes to receiving a government benefit, sometimes there are house searches involved. And the Supreme Court sometimes, for some of those programs, will allow a walkthrough of your house by agents if You know the general time frame of when it's going to happen, and it's a general walkthrough. They're not actually searching through all your drawers, flipping your bed, etc. So I could potentially see something like that being put in place, that they would, put it under the umbrella of a wellness check, right? That would be something that essentially they could do like a wellness check on, right? Okay, next one. Number 4, a government caseworker file attachment who calls your providers and makes sure you are compliant. Now, look, when they do CDR visits, they go and buy all your medical records. It takes them literally less than 30 seconds. They press a couple buttons. They can see what kind of vehicles you have, what kind of, financial statements you have with all of your banks. They're all hooked together. And when you sign up for these government programs, they have access to that. So as a result of that, the next step would be somebody who is constantly reviewing your claim. And so normally when something happens, you go outside, right, of the parameters of what you're allowed. There's some restriction and you violate it. 3 months later, they'll catch it and then they'll be like, overpayment for that month, right? The next step would be hiring so many people that they could, in that month, catch it and then basically go after you and say, we're going to remove benefits for that month. We're going to check on you. We're going to do another CDR review. Having like these CDR people ready and available, just hiring on another, 20,000 CDR people to constantly be on your butt. Okay. Number 5, removal of back pay and retroactive benefits as a result of low trust funds and low government general tax funds. All right. Back pay and retroactive benefits are what attorneys get paid from when you file for disability benefits or lose them and then have to try and get back onto them. If the government were to go ahead and remove the ability of you to collect back pay and retroactive benefits, then attorneys would not be able to represent you unless you paid them ahead of time, which most disabled people and retired people don't have that kind of money. So as a result of that, they could try and make an argument that because the trust funds are low and they want to keep as much money in, and because the retirement's going to fail for its trust fund by 2033, and 23% of benefits will be, reduced for every retired person, blah, blah, blah. They could say across the board, right? Because that wouldn't be unconstitutional. If it's across the board to everybody, we're going to get rid of back pay / retroactive benefits. But the thing with that is, if they did that, they would be killing off your ability to have an attorney represent you, which means that your likelihood of succeeding in a court would go into the ground. It would be horrible. You wouldn't know how to write briefs. You wouldn't know how to argue, things before the court, etc. So if you were wondering, like, what would be the most effective things to manipulate the disabled and make them less likely to win, less likely to succeed in their court battles, in their, requesting disability benefits, it would be to remove back pay and retroactive benefits. That would financially hurt that person who had to wait 3 years to potentially get benefits and not get a back pay / retroactive check. And they also wouldn't be able to have representation because attorneys get paid 25% of the back pay / retroactive benefits. So that would be one of the biggest whoppers that could happen to this field. Next one, number 6, removal of stackable benefits. And this has actually been brought up by different legislators. So VA people and some government pension people would have a serious life change. And I mean serious life change. A lot of VA people especially are used to somewhere around $5,000 a month income in the form of benefits, right? Even though we don't consider them technically, income. But the bottom line is they have their benefits. They get to stack their civilian disability and their VA disability benefits, right? So and this has already happened to a bunch of government pension people where they can't have a windfall in their, that's in their positive in their direction. But bottom line is, if you took the VA people and some government pension people who are allowed to stack and said, no more stacking is allowed, no more stacking. They said, you can't have your VA benefits and your disability benefits / retirement benefits. You can't have your government pension and your civilian disability benefits or your retirement benefits. You couldn't stack them. Then you would vastly change the life of many veterans. Veterans argue significantly, which to me, I always, in the back of my head, there's always like a little, what the are they talking about? Because they don't really get it. Veterans just don't get it when it comes to what benefits are available to them versus just the civilian market. And some veterans will be like, no, you don't understand. It's not enough money. Bro, you don't know what not enough money is when you have the potential of stackable benefits. Like, you just don't get it. Like, when somebody is getting a $900 check of SSI and SSDI benefits combined on a dual filing that allows them because their SSDI benefits weren't enough, and that's all they get, and you're sitting there with your, like, let's say $1,500 in VA benefits and another, let's say $600 whatever on SSI benefits, or like, you just don't get it. Like, the veterans, they don't get it. They don't get, and I get that you served. I get it. But you don't get that there are many levels of lack of benefits that are way below yours. And there are no options to increase. With the VA benefits, everything's like an add-on, stack on. You hit this percentage, now you can add this. At home care, you can add that. Civilian disability benefits, it's not like that. So the point is, there have been discussions about the whole stacking principle as to whether or not these benefits should be stackable. I am of the belief that benefits, all of them, should be stackable. I go so extreme with that I believe very strongly, and I don't even think it's that extreme, that your LTD benefits should be stackable with your regular disability benefits, and that you should not have to pay back your LTD benefits from your disability back pay / retroactive benefits. How all of you allowed that bill to pass into law, I don't know what the hell you guys were thinking. You guys were sleeping your butts off on that one. So the point is, the stackable idea. I think benefits should be stackable. I've always been a fan of stackable benefits, because stackable benefits mean you did something, you were promised something, and now you get to have that plus your civilian stuff. Having this whole windfall provision and maybe the VAs don't deserve. No. You take a military job, you face the potential of a bullet much more likely than the potential of somebody else. You take a military job, you face the potential of a bomb, of an explosion, of physical harm that could be deadly, significantly more than civilians. So you get to have that because you faced a much worse situation. Okay. That's what I think. Okay. But again, I still say with veterans, a lot of veterans, like, they find that when it comes to benefits, they have it much better than the civilians who were never in the military. All right. Number 7, required state side and possession side only benefit receiving. They would want government bucks, money only spent on USA government tax businesses. I could see a potential bill that would have, especially in wartime, potential excitement, although I don't think it's a good bill, where if you wanted to receive SSDI benefits or your retirement benefits, that you would have to live in the country or in one of its possessions, right? Samoan Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, plus the states, right? The reason that, okay, so you guys know SSI benefits, you have to live in the states to basically get your SSI benefits or one of the allowable possessions. SSDI benefits, you can move anywhere and still get them, right? The kicker is this. I could see a very pro-America World War III scenario politician pushing an agenda that you would have to live in this country or its possessions to receive any benefits you get from this country. That way you're spending American money on American tax businesses. I could see that. I don't agree with it, but I could see that. So these are 7, it's supposed to be 5, but I always give a little extra, but 7 potential legal changes that could affect Social Security disability benefits or disability VA benefits, etc. I want you to think about these because they are good, conversation starters. They're also not necessarily needing a parallel existing galaxy to become reality. If you think about this, right, drugs are becoming rampant in the United States. My younger generation, millennials and younger and stuff like that, drugs are rampant. Kids are high. They're more high than they've ever been, right? So having a drug test for the disabled, whether it's legal drugs and illegal they're looking for, it could evolve to that. It could evolve to that. Required medical check-ins with CE doctors every 6 months. So they're about to put 2 years in. They already got 12 months. They could require 6 months, right? Random house searches. They already require that with a lot of the DCF and kid-related stuff. Well, they could totally do that, you know? Government caseworker file attachment. Boy, they could hire a bunch of government employees, you know, shoot the employment rate way up high, you know, require more taxes from Americans. Like, oh, they would love that. They would love that. Removal of back pay and retroactive benefits. Well, that kills off attorneys' ability to represent the disabled. Wow, makes their job a lot easier. They can, you know, just adjudicate without anybody arguing any law against them. Removal of stackable benefits. Fastest way to save a lot of money. They would save a ton of money. Save a ton of money with that one. Required stateside possession. Well, you get more people paying money into those businesses that are going to be taxed. The U.S. gets more tax dollars. Gets paid into essentially, you know, more of this general tax fund situation. When you start to see where this thing is going, you can see how a political situation, a change in American society would cause these. And we are not on the brink of, we are in it, of America losing its place of being the crowned country of Earth, right? We had the best military. We had the best this, the best that, the best this, the best that. Now we don't. China does in a lot of categories. So we're losing our crown. And the problem is that China is not likely to join NATO. They're not likely to. You know, I was sitting there and thinking about that. I was like, well, what if China were just to join NATO? Wouldn't that be great? It's not going to happen. The reason it will not happen is that China culturally is different than America's freedom identity. China is an empirical state. America is a freedom-based state. China is a capitalism through the lens of communism. America is a republic that is democratic based on capitalism. You have two differing standards. One, China, the government has a firm grasp on its people. And the other one, America, the government, who has an almost as firm grasp on the American people. So just remember, these things potentially could come to light in a bill. If they make it into a bill, then they have the potential of making it to the floor. And if they make it to the floor for a vote, they have the potential of becoming a law if they make it to enough floors in a very, very special desk. I will catch you guys a little bit later. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. You can leave 5-star reviews by going to Google and typing in disability resolution Florida. That'll pop right up. Once you're there, you're good to go. Just go ahead and leave a 5-star if these videos help you. All right. I'll catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful day, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.